So in JavaScript, there are a bunch of different ways that you can define a function. One of the really common ways you're going to see in modern JavaScript is defining a function by assigning it to a variable, or usually it's a const because you don't want it to be reassignable. Why is that? Why not just write a regular function? Well, functions are actually hoisted to the top of a program, and functions that are assigned to a constant are not going to be hoisted because consts are not hoisted, as we covered in our last lesson. And when you have a lot of modules and different libraries that need to interact with each other, sometimes having all the functions hoisted to the very top and available from the beginning can create weird conflicts that are really difficult to debug. So by assigning the function instead to a const, we make it easy to debug and a lot more clear to understand where that relationship between different libraries and modules and all those things happen, which is very common in modern JavaScript. But how do you assign a function to a const? You can't use the word function because that's a statement of its own. And a const creates a statement of its own as well. That is where arrow functions come in. So if I want to create a const with a function in it, this is the way I would do it. Const my function, and then equal sign. And then you have your condition, your expression area of the function. So in this case, maybe I don't have anything. Then you have the arrow symbol, and then it's just like a regular function. Open up your curly braces and do whatever you need inside it, and then return or not return something. So I could do something like return hello. And then if I console log out this function, you can see that hello, it totally works. This opens up a bunch of different possibilities, and one of them is the implicit return, which you're going to see a lot of as you look at more modern JavaScript libraries and frameworks, and just even as you're writing these things. When you have a function that evaluates a single expression, you can actually just skip the return entirely. So let's say that I want to create a function that multiplies any value I give it by 2. Let's comment all of this out and create a const that is called the multiplier. And I'm going to open it up with an equal sign. Then, of course, we want to take in a value of some kind. So in my open brackets, I'm going to type in value. Then I'm going to go and open up my function by doing the arrow function. And now normally what you would do is you would have your curly braces, and then you could do something like return value times 2. So now if I were to run that and give it a value of say 2, the answer we should see is 4. And it works. But we can actually make this shorter. So when you have just that single expression, you can actually omit the curly brace and omit the return as well, and just make it the arrow sign and then the expression itself, and that still works. Let's change the 2 to like the 4, and we'll get 8. So if there's a single expression and that's all you're evaluating and then returning the answer of, you can just forget the curly braces, forget the return, and just pass that straight from the arrow. And that is called an implicit return. It's a shorthand. It isn't for every situation, but it can be very handy and makes your statements, your functions really concise and easy to read.